Welcome to Power Boat Talk, the podcast where we talk everything performance boats with your host, Joe Road.
Hey, welcome to Power Boat Talk. I'm on today with motorsports photographer Erik Bryner. Eric owns Firedrill Productions, and then also Fast Loud Photography, where he obviously does a lot of really cool boat stuff. So Eric and I just recently connected, and we've never met, so it's the first time we've really talked. And so welcome, Eric. Thanks for coming on. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm honored.
Yeah, I'm the one with the honors here. So hey, so
I want to interview you. I have so many questions.
That's fine. Hey, you know what? Ask away when we get the minute, no problem. But I just saw you just took a really cool trip. It looks like you went up Northern California over 4th of July. I don't know if you've got family up there or whatever, but I know you. I think you ended up with a new ride or resurrected something. So tell us about it.
Yeah, after all these years of chasing boats and riding in everybody else's boats and helicopters, I finally bought myself a little jet boat. And it's cool. It's a cool little boat. I got a good deal on it, but I should have known the deal was a little too good because the motor had a cracked block or something was wrong with it, but it's not okay. So, but you know what? It's good. I have a buddy up there with a shop called West Coast River Outlaws, and he's got the boat sitting in his shop, and he's been helping me work on it. It's a little tough when your boat's 7 hours away from you by car to go work on it, but I've been doing my best. So yeah, for 4th of July, went up and swapped out a motor that he had in the shop. Took that stock 454 out and put a little bit built up 468 in it, and got it reconnected and running and tested on Monday, and we were partying on Tuesday for the 4th.
Cool. What kind of boat is it?
It's a 87 Hardened Marine Caribbean.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, nice little boat, man. I mean, it had sat out in the winter outside, and I think that's the problem with the block. It might have cracked because I'm getting water in the cylinders. So learned that the hard way after a whole top end change, which, by the way, you'll see on my next YouTube video. But it was a unfortunate thing, but you know, luckily I have good friends like Jared to help me out. But we thrashed on it all weekend and got it ready for the 4th and had a great time.
Cool. Now do you keep it up there just because his shop's up there, or did you grow up up there?
Yeah, a couple reasons. That's the main one. I'm from Sacramento. I grew up there, and I moved down there 25 years ago. But my whole family's up there. And when I saw the boat, I was actually Easter Sunday, and this is nothing to do with photography, but I was Easter Sunday. I'm sitting there scrolling, family stuff, and I see the boat, and I'm like, whoa, that's a good deal, And so I'm like, I call the guy. I said, Take the ad down. I'll give you $500. I want it. Like I love that hull, and it was in pretty decent shape. And he said okay. So I called my buddy Jared with West Coast River Outlaws, and I said, hey, tomorrow would you go, or sometime this week, go up and look at this boat, and if you think it's good, grab it. And I wired him the money, and he did, and he said it was good, and it was on a trailer in a big open lot after the snow melted, so he didn't have a way to hook it up with water, and it's one of those things where it was a quick decision to try to nab the boat, because I don't know if you've been boat shopping, but it's not like if a decent priced boat comes up, it's gone. And I wanted to be the guy that got it this time, so I just jumped on it, and unfortunately it had some engine problems, but fortunately I got cool friends with extra motors laying around. So now it's our boat. It's my boat and his motor, at least for now.
Yeah.
So.
And is he the guy? Doesn't he have a big Instagram page? And
it's getting there. Yeah.
Okay.
West Coast River Outlaws.
Okay.
Try to pump it as much as I can. He's such a good guy, and he's helpful, and he knows his stuff, and he's young. He actually could be my son. I'm like, man, either I'm really immature or you're old for your age, because we get along really well. I'm gonna go with the former.
Oh, that's cool, man. We don't hear about too many young guys doing this stuff, so that's cool.
Yeah.
That's very cool.
He's got a YouTube page, and it's coming along.
Oh, okay.
And so I try to, he's trying to get to that monetization mark, but it's cool. His comment, he gets a lot of good comments on that page where, people love watching him wrench on boats and learning stuff, and it's cool. Yeah,
cool.
Hope we don't. I'm gonna drink on the job here.
No, have at it. So where did you come up with? I think I got this, but where did you come up with the name for Firedrill Productions?
So that's my main business. Fast Loud Photography is my side hustle, but Firedrill, if you ever worked in marketing or advertising, it's always a fire drill. Mm-hmm. We need it yesterday kind of thing. And I had to pick a name, and I was literally standing in the courthouse trying to fill out the paperwork. Like, what the hell am I going to call this business? Oh. I'm like, why am I even doing this business? It's always a damn fire drill. I hate it, And I'm like, oh, Fire Drill Productions. So.
Awesome. Yeah, I was kind of thinking, I'm like, well, is he a fireman? I'm like, oh wait, and then I read your bio. I'm like, oh, that makes so much sense. Absolutely. Yeah. I've dealt with a lot of creative people forever, and it's usually the management that come down that make it the fire drill. But anyhow, yeah. So I guess your dad was a drag boat racer. Is that how you got interested in boats?
Yeah, he was when I was a kid, and and that is how I grew up around it. He was a drag boat racer back in the '70s. I was 2 years old, standing along the lake shore watching him and getting in trouble for throwing rocks on the race course in the water. But he was a drag racer in Northern California, just like the Oakland estuary, and I forget where else they raced, but it's pretty cool. Looking at the old photos of your dad all dressed in the race gear and jamming down the track. I don't even remember. I think he was a super eliminator class or something.
Okay.
But it's cool. And then I just grew up around him. Our family boat was a bubble deck flat bottom Sanger. And that's what I learned to water ski behind, and it just sticks with you when you create those kinds of family memories. It sticks with you. And being around horsepower my whole life growing up, and I started getting into photography at a young age, I'd say around 12, 13 years old. And those two things just kind of merged over time. And, it wasn't until I was quite older where it became Fast Loud Photography or a motorsports addiction as far as photography goes. But that's what I ran with. When
you first started shooting, were you shooting like your dad's boats and that kind of stuff? Is that what you got?
No, he was done by then. He was done. And, don't forget, when he was drag racing, it was like black and white film. So, but yeah, I didn't really merge those until into my 30s. Yeah, where I was like persistently chasing motorsports and just realizing that I loved it so much. As a photographer, I always loved it. I as a young teenager, I raced motocross up until my late teens, and then I switched over to jet skis, and I raced jet skis for a long time. And a few years, and so I've always been into motorsports. I grew up, I used to sneak my dad's '71 El Camino with the 454 and the cow induction hood, and go out to the drag races. And I actually won the high school drags one year, and he never knew I was sneaking the car out.
No way.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
I got busted later in my 20s, but my brother threw me under the bus.
It's usually that guy.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So, how was it the first time, like when you actually made money shooting photos of boats or races? What was that like?
The first time I ever made money I still lived in Sacramento, and there was this. That's a great question, because it was a big deal. Like, wait, this is actually could be a thing where I could make money at it. There was a shop or something that had it was like a classic car garage, and they had a bunch of cool classic cars, and I had somehow crossed paths with somebody that had just happened to be asking to do some shots of a classic car for an advertisement for Albertsons for like hot August nights, which is a big thing up in
sure.
Right? If you're into the car world, what hot August nights.
Yeah, up in Reno.
Yeah. Well, in Sacramento, everybody from there goes to hot
sure,
August.
I bet.
And only a couple 2-3 hours away. Well, I happened to be in the right place at the right time. Somebody was asking, and I go, I know this shop down here I was just at, and they wanted some photos of the cars. And so anyways, I got them to bring a car around to this cool kind of retro. Actually, looking back now, it's probably more of a Miami vibe, the way the construction was. But I parked it in front of these palm trees, and it was just a cool scene. And did the whole water the street down, make it glossy black.
Oh.
And I did that shot, and it ended up in the ad for Albertsons in a newspaper. And I made I don't know, I think it was like $350 or something at the time. And I was just like, I was like 20 years old, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, this is amazing. And then I'm like, I'm going to start a business doing this. Crickets.
Oh.
So,
yeah.
But it was a cool experience, good memory. In fact, I have that shot sitting over here.
Oh, cool. I was going to ask you that. That's awesome. Good for you have that. Yeah.
I saved it.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was it. And that, I don't even think that was when my radar, my light bulb went off. Like, hey, I want to do this all the time. It was literally a transitional grow to just love doing it. I was always doing it by myself, for myself, and I kind of equate it to like a deer hunter that goes out looking for the deer, and it's like you get addicted to getting that just amazing shot. Like when you see it, you're just like, I got it, like, oh my God. And it's a constant chase. You're always trying to get that shot where it's just like, it says so much in that one frame. And, so you just it kind of became a passion. And then that passion kind of morphed into somehow getting connected with like Speedboat magazine and other magazines. And I couldn't even tell you, I'd have to really think hard about how it all came together. But, if you're shooting and you're passionate about it and you're always learning and you're putting yourself out there to be discovered, and being semi-aggressive, like Speedboat, they didn't find me. I was knocking on their door like, hey, I would love to shoot for you guys. What can I do? And I think the first time I ever shot for Speedboat was Desert Storm, like 09 maybe, or something like that. And I just happened to get a few shots of the helicopter going by and had the Speedboat. And I sent a gallery to Ray Lee, who I believe was a guest of yours.
Yes, he was.
And,
yes.
He was like, oh yeah, we could use that shot, and paid me a little bit of money, and it was cool. And then he actually sent me on a couple of assignments, and then like that cover back there was a really cool project that I actually discovered and brought to him. It was the restoration of the old 43 Gentry Turbo Eagle.
Cool.
It was restored by Dan McNamara down in Costa Mesa at his shop. And when it was finished, I had gotten wind of it from somebody else, I can't remember. And but I went down to the shop and I talked to him, and I'm like, man, I would love to shoot this, like whatever it would take, like let's get it on the water. And because it was newly built and finished, they wanted to take it out and get some shots, so that was good timing. And so I arranged it, to do a story with Speedboat, and we got a helicopter and went out and did a run and got some amazing shots of it out in the ocean, including that one. And then was stoked to find that it was going to make the cover, a feature story. That's my only Speedboat magazine cover.
Something you said that yeah, you're right. The hunt. I was in the publishing business for a while doing hot rod magazines, and the best photographers were the guys that could uncover those stones. There was obviously the guys that were really good at their craft, but then the guys that really set themselves apart were the guys that could uncover that. They found the shop where they always got the good car that shop had. Yeah. They made alliances.
Be an investigative reporter, and
absolutely,
and have your fingers, your sense on the pulse of the industry. I think that helps. In fact, today on my Instagram page, I had this. I'm assuming a young guy, because that's usually what it is. Just today, he messaged me and said, "Hey, I saw your reel from Super Cat, and how did you get into it?" He's like asking me advice on how to get it, and I was like, "Don't do it. Like if you want to make any money at all, don't do it." But he's like, he just wanted to know, like, I love doing it, and I want to try to do content for people, and can you give me any pointers? And so I did. I mean, I wasn't gonna say don't do it. Just be prepared for it to be a long road, because it has been for me. I mean, I have a YouTube channel with only 4,000 subscribers, and I've had it for 5 years.
Yeah.
You know, I just hit 108,000 yesterday on Facebook, and like I'm 38.6 thousand on Instagram. But you know, there's kids doing crazy dances and have 1 million followers because it's a different, you know, that's what the kids want.
And I'm in the boating industry. I mean, that's pretty healthy. Those are pretty healthy numbers for all that stuff. But
it's probably one of the higher. I mean, you know, I remember thinking, holy cow, I've passed some of the magazines that I shoot for. You know, that was a weird light bulb moment.
You know, since you brought that up, that was something I was going to ask you. So, you know, what is your tips for guys getting into it? And let me back up something we were talking about before.
Let me read what I wrote to him.
Well, let me back up to what you and I were kind of talking about a little bit. When I was in the publishing industry, one thing that really, because I was a newbie. I went in as a sales guy and ended up being a publisher. Yeah. But something that was really got to me was how how undervalued the editorial and the creative people were. I had really good writers. I had some really good writers, really good editors, really good photographers, and our company got bought by investment groups, so bigger. So we got more. There was farther separation from the people running the company and the boots on the ground. But it's always stuck with me how, you know, everybody thinks. I mean, you hop in a helicopter, you shoot 1,000 photos, and everybody thinks, "Hey, Eric, send me a photo. Eric, give me a photo of my boat. Hey, can you shoot a photo of my boat?" It's like, that's how
especially
you make it.
Social media, because now they don't even want to buy a print. They just want something to post, and it can be 600 pixels, and they don't care.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't tell you the last time I sold a print.
Yeah. So I mean, my point being is it's tough because of that. I think a lot of people, and you're right, with digital, with everybody's got a camera now. I mean, it is a tough gig. But obviously you're in it and you've figured out how to make it work. So we talked about the hunt. I mean, really being aggressive there, learning, getting the industry contents, networking, making friends. Where from there? I mean, what's your advice beyond that?
Yeah, you know, I'm just gonna regurgitate something that someone told me when I was asking the same questions as a young guy, and like, how do you break into it? Like, I remember looking through my dad's old powerboat magazines before it was gone, and going like, dang, who gets that job, like, to take these pictures? And it was Tom Newbury. Mm-hmm. And you know, the late Tom Newbury. Yeah. And I would sit there and just go, man, that's cool. I wish I could do that, you know. And I had no idea who he was. Just he was a badass photographer and got these great shots. And interestingly, now I'm actually working with Greg Mansfield in Poker Runs America magazine to do stuff. And he was from Powerboat, and he worked with Tom, so he's got all kinds of great stories. You know, this guy told me one time, you just got to shoot and keep shooting. You got to shoot and perfect your craft. And, you know, if it means anything to you, you'll do it not for the money, because you'll do it because you love it. And, you know, it goes back to that addiction, like that deer hunter analogy. I just love doing it. And every time you shoot, you learn a little bit more and a little bit more and a little bit more. And you start, you know, now I could operate my camera in pitch dark with my fingers. I know every click and you know, when you're in a helicopter doing 120 knots or whatever, and the wind's blowing and you got your headphones on and you're trying to pay attention to what's happening. And like, I know if I'm on F8 and I need a little more light and I want to ratchet it up or slow the shutter speed down, whatever, I can count the clicks and I can do it all by hand. It becomes second nature, and that only comes from shooting and shooting and shooting. And you know, it's a true statement. You've got to become, you know, one with the camera, for, you know, a lack of better term. You just gotta keep shooting and become really good at what you're doing, and then be willing to put yourself out there in front of people. That's where social media is a plus. Where it's a detractor is, to your point, it made photography cheap. The iPhone, it made everybody an okay photographer, and it devalued photography in general. The digital camera, the DSLR, it devalued photography, because now you can shoot thousands of frames with no repercussions, and you don't have to know. I remember in my 20s shooting weddings on film. That is no joke. You have to know exactly what your light is and what's happening in that room, and you only have 36 chances to nail it. and then you got to change your roll of film. And digital changed that. So in a lot of ways, it's really cool, but it also devalued photography in general because it made everybody a pretty dang good photographer. So from there, it's got to go into how aggressive do you want to be to get into that world. And like this kid, he's reaching out to me just like I did to Ray Lee at some point, or any other of my clients. Today I was prospecting for content collaborators, for some events I have coming up. And you just have to be willing to ask and know that you create value for them. And then, I know this is a long-winded answer, but going back to that, creating value is with social media. It's no longer a let me shoot for a magazine and collect a check for that job. At least not for me, because I don't shoot for any of the magazines. I did for a little bit, and it didn't work out for whatever reason. They have their guys, and I just wasn't one of them. And so I created my own monetary value, which is the ad revenue. The social media model is ad based, right? They're making money on it, and they're willing to pay you some. That's why I started my YouTube channel. Mm-hmm. So I make a few $100 a month for my YouTube channel. I just relaunched it today. I literally just posted today my first YouTube video in a year and a half to bring it back. I want to bring back my YouTube channel. There's huge upside potential. But last year, Facebook launched their Reels program, and that was designed to get their audience back from TikTok. Mm-hmm. So they started offering Reels bonuses, they called it. And I joined it and quickly found out that it was really worth joining because I started making thousands a month.
Oh, no kidding. Oh.
Yeah. So, that was huge because now I didn't have to rely on a magazine to hire me on a job, send me somewhere, which is really expensive, by the way. They got to pay airfare and hotels and meals and whatever. So, in a helicopter, they're paying $1,500 an hour for a helicopter. The photographer is the last guy they want to pay, to your point, right? Mm-hmm. And so I just started going, okay, so I'm getting a bigger following, and I need to pay for these costs too. What can I do besides the revenue that I'm making on the bonuses or the ad revenue on social media? Well, my 100,000 followers is worth something to people. I get 3 million impressions a month now. You can't even buy that kind of traffic for what I charge a collaborator to give me some money to go shoot some content. So that's you got to get creative in how you approach the situation if you want to keep doing it. And so I've figured out a way to utilize the back end of social media payments to help fund the trips. And, the profit comes from working with content collaborators, like sponsors, like Seabound Yachts. They paid me some money to shoot Desert Storm and tag them and put their logo on my shot. It was a complicated process, trying to shoot and post a lot during the week, but it worked out, and I hope he was happy. Jeremy over there at Seabound Yachts, and but it's one of those things where it's not the old-fashioned way of earning anymore. You're not selling lots of prints. Now the money is in advertising on the back end, on the platform. So it's tricky. To your point, why is it devalued, right? Why do they value the creative side so little? And I think about the music industry and everything they do to protect songs and the copyrights and everything in the software and all the platforms. Everything is copyright protected. They have AI recognizing songs and stopping you from earning any money if it's somebody else's song. Even though you spent hours making a video, they get to make the money because it's an unlicensed song, right? So why is music more important than video or photography? It's really frustrating that they haven't gone to that same level of protection for images. I have a particular guy that owns a particular V-Drive shop, and he takes and posts whatever he wants. And it's really annoying. He knows that it annoys me. He knows that it's kind of basically stealing. And he doesn't give two shits because there's nothing I can do except report it. And I have a couple times just to get, have a little fun. Yeah. But, I've found my shots in commercial work. So people do it. It's floating out there everywhere.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
So then what do? You gotta watermark everything you post. Well, that's like writing graffiti on a side of a train. I don't want to do that all the time.
Yeah.
And it's time consuming. So, you know, you just gotta pick your battles.
I've talked to somebody not too long ago that they reshared somebody's thing and they got tagged by the guy, and being a newbie at this too, I'm like, well, I kind of thought, like, I get that, like, from being in publishing and stuff, like, you couldn't share photos. If it went in the magazine, like, you couldn't use, my advertisers couldn't use it. We would go after them if they used it.
Yeah.
But it seems like, I think that it's tough now though, because it's so prevalent. Like, you're one of probably, I don't know, very few guys that ever even pay attention to that guy doing that, you know?
Yeah.
And see, it seems like a lot of guys are almost, a lot of guys are almost happy. Like, oh, good, 3 guys shared my stuff. Like,
and that's true. And there's a balance, right?
mm-hmm.
I post it. I hope people share it. What I hope they do is share from my page. Mm-hmm. Every person that shares it leads me to a whole new group of people that helps me grow. I get a little recognition. Maybe that shot ends up in front of an editor for some other magazine. That's happened. I get a call. Hey, I like your stuff. Can you come and shoot this thing for us? I am a commercial photographer for my living for Firedrill Productions. All these leads and recognition help, whether it's Fast Loud Photography or Firedrill Productions. What's not cool is downloading it to your desktop or your phone and posting it as original content with no tag whatsoever. They know what they're doing, and you know it's a blatant big middle finger. And so those are the ones that I go after. In fact, I'm scrolling through and I see somebody said, you know, heck yeah. Oh, it was Jared actually at West Coast River Outlaws. Heck yeah, MSD Ignitions shared that video of our buddy's drag boat. You know, my buddy Rob has the Joker boat, blown gas flat. Well, I did this video and it was kind of going viral. And next thing I know, Jared's sharing it. I'm like, wait a minute. That's not from my page. They posted it. They downloaded the video and shared it to their page as a commercial advertisement for themselves.
MSD did that?
Yeah.
That's really surprising.
It's surprising.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I'm like looking at it. I go, I gotta do something because otherwise it's just stealing. They're growing from my content, my work. You know? And so I reported it. Facebook actually has a very robust reporting system, copyright infringement. And so I filed a report, and I get an email from actually Holley, you know, Holley Carburetors.
Yeah, Holley owns it, yeah.
They own MSD and a couple other brands that you didn't realize. It ended up shutting down their page for like 3 days. And so I get this email from the I think it was the marketing director. Eric, this is Joe or so-and-so from Holley Carburetors or from Holley. And I want to talk to you about the video that we shared. And I really apologize. And I'm wondering if we could work out a deal where we could use your content. You know, all of a sudden now they're paying attention. Yeah. Yeah. And he goes, but I have a favor. Could you, you know,
get me out of jail first?
You get them out of jail because I'll shut their page down. Yeah, and I didn't. That wasn't my intention. I thought they'd get a slap on the wrist. But what it means is they've done it before.
Yeah, which I'm really surprised. I mean, I know, you know, I was even working at small companies. Like, I would never do that. Yeah, but it's been a repeating pattern. Or it should have been a slap on the wrist for the first time. So, anyways, I said, yeah, you know, it's not cool. I mean, their excuse was we have a new hire. And he didn't know what he was doing. I'm like, I played nice, and I said, hey, you know, just tag me. That's all I care about. Or share it from my page, even better. Share it from my page. You know, I'd love to have some of their 200,000 followers. And so, you know, once I got him out of jail, it was like, yeah, thanks, bye. Of course.
I know chicks like that. Yeah.
Well,
not what I need from you. Bye.
I mean, so the bottom line, I mean, it goes back to that old adage, right? But it just gets even more so. It's that if you really want to do it, like it's just it's just grinding, putting in the work, and like you did. I mean, things change, so you figure out new ways to do it, right? And at the end of the day, I mean, you're doing a lot of stuff. But at the end of the day, your passion's photography, and you're making somewhat of a living at it, right? So,
Yeah. Well, last year, just on social media payments alone, on royalty payments, I made 40 grand.
Oh,
So
nice. Wow.
yeah, it's nothing
Yeah.
to shake a stick at, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. Good
Now,
for you.
unfortunately, they've ended that program, and I'm at the mercy of just the ads on Reels for Facebook and YouTube revenue. So it's drastically been reduced my income, which is why I decided to go back to my YouTube channel. Because really, if you go back to my YouTube channel, Fast Loud Photography, and watch it, I basically am. It was like a comeback video, I'm calling it, because I haven't posted a year and a half. And the short story is they dangled that carrot in front of me, and I went with it because it was easier. Doing a YouTube channel is a lot of work. You go on a 3 or 4 or 5 day trip. Like Speedboat Magazine in 2021 sent me out to Morehead City to cover a race. Awesome. I loved it. It was like an honor. Our Speedboat Magazine sent me out, to cover this fountain powerboats. Wasn't an anniversary, but it was to the launch of the new retooled 42-foot fountain. And I can't remember the guy's name that ordered the first one, but it was beautiful. It was a great trip. And I was excited to go do another assignment for Speedboat Magazine. In that case, they actually pay for my expenses, and I get a day rate, and that's great. But on my trips that I go to cover content, or let's say, like right now, I'm booked to go shoot the Catalina ski race, and it's more of a favor for the program because they don't really have a big budget at all. And so I'm going to spend money to go doing that. And the only way I can get that back is through the ad revenue. Basically, on my YouTube channel that I posted today, it was stating that the problem with YouTube as a YouTuber is that it's a lot of work. You go on these 3 or 4 or 5 day trips, and you spend money and you take time away from work, from paying business. I'm self-employed, so I'm losing money there. And then you come home, you're trying to catch up on that work that you missed, and you're slammed with deadlines. And you're trying to stay up till 2 a.m. editing gigabytes of video, and then trying to tell a story and do decent editing, so you're not like a cheesy YouTuber, which I totally am. And it becomes a lot of work and effort. Yeah. And so even though the upside potential is huge, it's hard to get to that point to where you can go, I can quit my other business. Like, you got to have millions of views and a lot of subscribers, and you got to start making some brand deals with big companies, and that doesn't happen overnight. So it's a grind. I'm telling you. So that's why I got away from it, especially when Facebook dangled that Reels carrot. My best month last year, I actually made 11 grand.
Oh, nice.
The month of March.
Nice.
It's insane. Yeah,
but you saw the downside of that is that those guys, and even with YouTube, it's probably not as bad, but I mean, it's still there, is that they own that platform. So and they're the same as we are. They're looking for any way to generate revenue. And if generating revenue means I throttle my creators and I try to charge my creators, or I make my creators somehow funnel more money my way. So that is a difficult part of it. But going back to, I really think the message you have, which is good, is that, figuring out, what it does take, and it's new models, you're doing different things. And I think too, the thing you said too about, the hunt and turning over stones and building relationships. I know from being on the other side, I've always contracted with creators, graphics and videos and stuff through my business life. And I'll tell you, when I got a guy that I liked, I don't care if the guy was fair with me. I didn't care what that guy charged. I never went out.
If that rate is worth it, you get what you pay for a lot of times. And
but I never shopped it. If it was fair, I felt like it was fair. And I worked mostly in small businesses, so I got what it took to make money.
Yeah.
Like $10 an hour is not getting you anywhere, right? So I know this guy's got to make money, and so I want him to make money, and that's cool, and he's fair with me. The only reason I went out the video guy I've used him for 15 years now because he's just solid. I've never tried to go get a cheaper video guy. I had a printer was another thing. I had a printing guy forever, and I never went and found another printer until that guy just fucked up. And he got in a bad place for for a year and took me to the cleaners and just didn't. I got a new. I found a new printer. I never changed. To this day, I still refer that printer to people.
Really?
So yeah, because it was. I never even would price shop that printer.
Yeah,
so you're in that position. You know, I think. I mean, granted, not everybody's like that, but there are guys like that where, in that case of that printer, when he was just begging me, I said, look, I don't want to sound crass here, but like printing is like just a little tiny bit of what I need done. And you've been way too much of a problem for me to worth going back in that hole again. Doing what you say you're going to do and delivering. I mean, that's a way to get clients and keep good clients. You know?
And that's a great point to make. You know, to touch on the business side of creative. You know, the creative side is fun, but there's still a business side, right? Like, I would say, you know, Tom Lee with Tommy Gun Images. He's that guy, and Carter Bade. He's that guy for Speedboat Magazine. They found a guy that lives in the area where everything happens. He's super good. He's very serious. He doesn't drink on the job like I do. In fact,
maybe you found the answer. He found the
other guy, right? He's not gonna let him go. And as long as Tom doesn't fuck up, it's his guy. And you can't take anything away from that. And Tom and Carter are amazing. You know, so they, you know, Ray scored. I for a long time have been that guy for River Dave. And I've appreciated it. He's been super good to me. And but there's a business side of creative, and he had to make the decision: how much am I spending on freelance and all this stuff when I can hire a guy local in town? And so that's what he did. You know, and the guy's good, and he's really helped out the whole company in general. You know, creating content is fun, but it's still work. It's business, and it's like to the point that this kid was asking me about today. Like, it's not fun and games. I love it. When I'm flying in helicopters and chasing boats, and I'm like on a high, you know, the adrenaline high, and partying, and it's so fun being at the lake or the river or the ocean. But you know, you still come home and you grind out video, and you're up late at night, and it's got to look good and sound good and meet all the criteria for good content for your client. And that even includes being good for the guys like Jeremy at Seabound Yachts that wants me to put his logo on it. He doesn't want me putting his logo on a piece of shit. He wants me to put it on like the best stuff I can make, right? And so there's still a business side to the creative industry that people, you know, especially younger kids, I think, forget. You know, and then the ones that learn that are the ones that get picked up by magazines and other companies. Yeah. So if that kid's watching, I hope he just heard that.
Yeah, no, that's all awesome. That's really cool. I'm glad we talked about that. That's very cool.
Now they just need to figure out a way to protect photographers' rights like music.
I actually worked for Powerboat for a couple of years, so I know Tom Newby. We traveled a lot. We did stuff for. Yeah, he was a really good dude. But I'll never forget. And so he went to a photography college in Long Beach. Do you know what it is? It was pretty exclusive. I can't remember what.
Institute in Santa Barbara. That's probably not it. It
was a long time ago. I could have swore it was in Long Beach, but a couple of things I remember him talking about. I remember him telling me one time that in his class of however many, it was probably small class, but in his class at that college, I think he said that him and another guy were the only guys that were making money doing photography out of that whole class that had been through that college. So it was hard back then too. But I do remember him telling me that he belonged to an association, and that if you caught somebody using your photography, like those guys would be on him on your behalf. So I don't remember what that was, and we barely had the internet at that time.
Yeah. So that's still a thing, and it's called the Bro Network, right? So like my good friend Darren Van Wright, OC Photographics.
Oh, sure.
And, Scott Shanklin at Strider Photo. Scott doesn't do any like professional work. Darren does. He's a staff, you know, speedboat photographer, Speedboat Magazine. But, you know, we see each other's stuff and we recognize it. I'll recognize his style or the shot.
Oh, really?
Or the boat, and he does the same for me. We shoot together all the time, and so it's like, hey, look, you know.
Really?
And the guy I'm talking about often gets sent to me like, hey, look, you know, using your stuff again. And it's like, I'm not name dropping, but one of these days we'll meet at the boat ramp.
Yeah. I think I know who that guy is. And you know what always kills me about that guy is like, dude, you're hurting yourself by not tagging people. Like you're crazy.
Yeah.
But that's interesting. That you guys are that good that you guys can tell each other stuff. That's really cool.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it's good or just being close. Like, we're close friends, but we network together, both in business and creative. Share photos, like get opinions. Hey, what do you think? What should I submit? All that stuff. So, but when you're that close with somebody as a friend, you start picking up their style, and I don't know. Maybe it's weird. Hard sometimes to not get butt hurt over it. It's like I would like to shoot for Speedboat more, or even River Dave more, or have a reason, like get assignments to go to and be, feel like I matter to the industry. But I just ended up, it didn't work out that way for me, but I somehow grew myself to bigger than some of the magazine's social media following. So now I don't need them per se, but I'd still like to be needed. It's good. Name recognition is good. That's good. Engine Builder magazine, I got a cover shot. Speedboat magazine, I got a cover shot. That's good for your portfolio. It's good for your your social media and being recognized as a professional, as somebody that's worth hiring. And it's not that maybe I never will again. And if it happens, awesome. And if it doesn't, you just keep adapting and figuring out ways to make it worth doing. To me, without making money, I just wouldn't be doing it as often.
Right. But I don't know. You look at it kind of like a sales guy. Like you spend most of your time as a sales guy calling on people that aren't going to ever buy anything from you. And you just let them know you're there for them. And someday if it happens, it happens, and keep the ones you have. And I don't know, maybe Speedboat's sending guys to you too, like there's, whatever, but it's just business,
Yeah. And there's also a lesson in keeping your trap shut. This will be a learning lesson for all you youngsters that want to message me about what not to do in the industry. Don't badmouth somebody. Moral of the story is keep your trap shut if you don't want people that are powerful in the industry to eliminate you from the program. And that's what happened.
Yeah, man, I got to tell you, so I worked for a lot of years in the boating industry, and I did sales at small companies. So a big part of sales is, unfortunately, at small companies, is also collecting money because, I can't continue to deliver product if they owe money. So through the years, doing this for a long time, there's been a lot of situations where I've been lied to, and I won't mention names because some of those guys are real good guys that I'm friends with now. So, I mean, it's tough. You just got to kind of let it go off your back. And again, it's a small industry. Those guys, I will tell you, those guys I'm not going to go out drinking with, and they're not my best buddies, but I will do business with them because it's water under the bridge and stuff happens. But
I got to give. I also have to look internally and go, I know I'm that guy that's got the sharp tongue when I feel like somebody's not, if I feel like I'm being unfairly judged or wronged in some way or not given a fair shake, I'll let them know. And I know that's also why I'm self-employed. I'm not going to be a good employee to a corporate boss, right?
Yeah.
That's another adaptation I had to make. I better go make a living for myself somewhere because I'll probably get fired at a real job. Yeah. But, and that probably is maybe that's why I'm not shooting for the magazines. I'm a little too ambitious with my vocabulary at sometimes. So, but that's who I am. Love it or hate it.
There you go.
I made it work for me,
There you go.
So drama is great for YouTube. People love that stuff.
Yeah. You just got to figure out how to harness it and make sure the camera's rolling, right?
Yeah, exactly.
One thing I'm interested in what you do, how did it go the first time you got in a helicopter? How did that, because that's a big part of what you guys do is operating on a sling.
I don't remember what the first time was. I think it might have been the Catalina Fun Run, like in 2016 was the first time I actually flew as a photographer in a helicopter with the doors off. And it was awesome. I was like, oh yeah, I'm addicted to this.
Really?
I used to love 100 mile an hour boats, and then I'm like, oh no, this is my new favorite thing. But I think that was it, and that was not that long ago. I was shooting from shore for years or other boats, and so it was amazing, like having that capability of actually catching up to a 80 mile an hour boat, and getting to fly over the top of them and shoot it. It was amazing. You know, there's a lot of guys doing it long before me, but it was another addiction. And anytime, like, they've got a helicopter for me at Poker Runs America in a few weeks, and I'm so excited for it. I've done it 100 times now, but I'm still excited to get to go.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool. So you were pretty comfortable from the first time you did it.
Yeah. I mean, I've always had a penchant for the adrenaline rush, you know, motocross, jet skis, whatever, mountain climbing, surfing. But the helicopter is like a whole different ball game. It is awesome. I love it.
So did you, like, the first time you got in it too, were your shots good? I mean, did it take you a few times before you really got it down to where you could do it?
No, this is where I'm going to sound like a know-it-all photographer. But, you know, if you know your craft, you kind of know what to do in every situation. That's what makes you hireable, right? Like, a magazine's going to hire you because they're pretty much guarantee they're going to get a shot, unless you drop the camera out of the helicopter or something. But, you know, the difference between a professional photographer and an amateur is a professional gets paid, but B, they can virtually guarantee their results because they're so good, right? They're good enough to be confident enough to say, I will get the shot. I'm going to come back with shots you can use. And where an amateur is going to not know their camera or how the settings might affect their conditions, or the conditions affect their settings, I should say. Different lighting scenarios, what to do in them, different speeds you're traveling. I mean, there's a million different things that are happening both on ground and in the helicopter that make a difference for your shot. You got to know what you're doing. And so, you know, that's where people start getting paid, is you can guarantee that you're going to get a shot. So I wouldn't say it was something that scared me that I wasn't going to get a shot. It was more of like, I can't believe I get to get these shots, you know, finally.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So is there an event that you haven't gotten the chance to shoot, or a type of boat or a type of race that you'd really like to, that you haven't yet?
There's a lot of events I haven't shot that I'd like to. In fact, the Thousand Island Poker Run, the New York version, is coming up this weekend actually. It's beautiful. It looks beautiful up there. I'd love to shoot that one. But I do get to shoot the Thousand Islands Kingston version, which is the original, which Poker Runs America magazine started 38 years ago. This is the longest running version of that poker run. And so I do get to shoot that. I don't know how different it is, but it's still in a beautiful area and a lot of beautiful landscapes. So I'm excited for that.
Where's it at?
It goes up. I really need to know my geography better, but it's in Canada. I fly into Toronto.
Okay. We
drive a few hours east, Kingston, Ontario, Canada. And then the poker run takes place at a marina, and they go up the river into Canada, away from New York. Again,
Gotcha.
First time, so I should have done more studying on the geography of it.
That's really cool. You get to go shoot cool boats, but you also get to travel and see some new area. That's very cool.
I've actually established a fairly nice gallery of scenic shots that I actually intend someday to make them available for sale, because you go to all these beautiful places, there's beautiful things to shoot. And when you have a second, you got a few minutes to set up that shot and capture that, you know, that's a whole nother market. And
awesome.
I don't do it for that reason. It's because I see it and go, oh my God. But some of them I've come back and go, man, this I can probably sell this, you know.
Obviously, you shoot a lot of the big boat stuff, the poker run stuff, and I know you shoot a lot of drag race stuff too. I also saw, I guess, probably from your background, you still shoot some jet ski stuff?
When it comes up, I don't live in Havasu, so that's where it all happens. But when it comes to Huntington, they do a race there every year. Ross Wallach puts it on with he's the same guy that does the SCSC. He does that race here in Huntington at the pier. Super fun. You know, they're blasting out through the surf, and then they do the freestyle out in the waves, and tons of good photo ops. I haven't even hardly published anything that I shot, but I actually got hired to shoot that for Bomber Eyewear, and so I was out there for the whole weekend shooting for them, and I gave them their content, but now it's time for me to start posting it. A lot of good stuff.
Yeah, I've never seen one of those, but it looks like I see you just see the videos on social media, some of the stuff those guys do.
Yeah, it's amazing.
So we talked about from a business aspect of people, you know, learning the photography business. What about just from a technical aspect? that same young guy that asked you, like technically, what's your best advice for getting a good shot, or even a guy that's just got his iPhone on the weekend trying to get shots of his boats? What's some good advice there?
I mean, I almost have to respectfully decline to answer that because there's no way you can give one answer, right? It literally depends on your scene, where you're at, where the light's at, what direction it's coming from, what are the weather conditions, what are the people wearing. I mean, there's a million variables that you have to be a good enough photographer to know how to light that subject. And if you don't have artificial lights, you got to make sure the sun's using the sun to your advantage, or the natural light that exists, whether that means facing them in the right direction or using a bounce card. There's just no way to answer that. Just know your camera, like know the fundamentals. I would almost recommend to anybody starting out in photography, start with film, because if you screw up, it's a really good way to make sure you learn quickly, because you only have 36 chances on a roll of film to get it right? So unfortunately, that's the expensive part too, going to process it all. But you know the fundamentals of how photography works, not just the buttons on your camera. Know the fundamentals of photography, because you have three major components of a camera that you're working with at any given time: the ISO, which is the light sensitivity; the shutter speed, which is how fast the shutter reacts to the click of the shutter, and that's what freezes the action or not, on whether you choose to or not; and the aperture, and that controls the amount of light coming in and out of your lens that's going to hit that sensor. So at any given time, those things are always changing. Even in helicopter, if you're metering off of a white boat and you're shooting down at dark blue water, this happens a lot on the Catalina Fun Run. The camera wants to meter for the white boat, and it starts automatically wanting to give you a smaller f-stop to close off some of that blinding light, because it's thinking like a camera. It's not thinking, it's just reacting. So you got to manually override. That's why you don't shoot you don't shoot on automatic. You override what the camera wants to do naturally on auto. You have to override that and stop down, make sure you're exposing for the boat, not just the dark water. Those are two different things. A bright white boat on a dark blue water situation is tricky to shoot. GoPros have a hell of a time actually capturing it because if you're on auto setting on GoPro, it's wanting to do that. It's underexposing.
Yeah. So I guess, and you might have said it earlier too, I guess the whole thing is just shoot, right? Just shoot and experiment, shoot.
Yeah.
And I wanted to say it earlier when you were talking about when you first started, and it was like a hunt for that perfect photograph. I mean, when you got that photograph, when you were shooting with film, because of I shot it, I had to go develop it, I had this delay, I screwed up, I didn't get it. I mean, that result, I never thought about that before until you were saying that. Yeah, when you got that shot, that had to be spectacular.
Yeah, it really was, and it felt good. And then it's like, man, I want to go find another shot to do. It's kind of stupid, really. And this is another frustrating part, going back to the whole payment and devaluing of photography. I'm out shooting with a $10,000, $12,000 camera in my hands on any given day, and I've got 2 or 3 of them on my person sometimes. And it's like, and you want to pay me $200 for this job where I have to go travel and spend a whole day? That was just not worth it. There's no, I don't understand how it became such a worthless industry when you're providing a service just like anything else. But because it's fun, everybody wants to do it for free. That's why this kid was looking at my stuff going, how can I do what you do? Well, don't do it for money, because you are not going to make money at it. It's a side hustle. Now, if you get into the corporate side and you want to create content for computer company or medical company, which is what I do for a living, that's different. But the more fun it is, the less you're going to make at it. It's like, I know people that worked at Oakley Sunglasses. Remember how popular Oakley was 10 years ago? Oh, yeah. They paid their employees like crap because everybody wanted to work there because it was cool. They had a cool building. They had all these employee perks, parties, and it looked like a freaking, some kind of Star Wars crazy base or something. Right over here where I live. And they'd hire kids out of college for pennies. It's like, you're an art director making $25,000 a year. You're getting ripped off, bro. Super, it's so cool,
Yeah.
So
crazy.
Yeah.
who would you say like is your biggest influence?
Honestly, like one of them would be Tom Newbury. Like he was kind of my first eye opener to, man, that could be a job. That's somebody's job, you know. And I never got to meet him or know him or work with him or anything, but he did influence me as an idea, you know, like that put it in my head. Like somebody's doing this for this magazine. Like who is it? And I'd always see photos, Tom Newby. So I'm like, you know, I want to try to do that. And it was years until I actually started trying to do it even. It seems impossible, you know. And in a lot of ways it kind of is. I think the moral is don't be a dick, right? We've covered that. Be aggressive, do what you want to do, and put yourself in front of people and just keep practicing.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'll tell you, and Tom was great. And Tom did a lot of work for boat companies. And it was when Wellcraft needed somebody, I mean, everyone went to Tom. The other thing, Tom was really organized. Tom had his day rate. I don't remember what it was, but Tom had his rate, and you paid his rate. And if you don't want to pay his rate,
that's how it should be. That's how it should work.
Yeah, but I will tell you that he didn't like, hey, if you don't want to pay my day rate, that's fine. I'm still going to drink beer with you, but I've got another guy to do it. And when we did the boat testing and man, when it came photo time, I mean, Tom ran the deal. Like you stood back and, we handled the scrim and like you did what he said and we all knew it. And then, so that was and he was really good at it. And that's, you
Greg
did
Mansfield just recently told me a similar story. Like he was very organized and buttoned up about his shoots and didn't mess around with what he knew what he was trying to get. And I respect that. That's cool. To give Tom Lee, Tommy Gun Images, some credit, he's very much like that. We're two different people. Like I'm kind of wild. I'm drinking on the job. I drop cameras because I'm drinking beer. I'm more of the River Daves photographer, where he's the speed. You can see why, right? He's very serious. He takes it serious. He doesn't. He's a very quiet guy, and he's very methodical, and he's really good. But those are our two different styles, and he gets hired for that style, and I get hired for my style. I get hired to party.
Well, but I mean, it goes back to kind of what I was saying. Like you get comfortable from the business guy's standpoint, you get comfortable with that guy, and that's, you don't want to think about it. Like you got, Ray, you're running a magazine, you don't want to think about it. Like I know this guy knows how to do what I want, and I don't want to, I don't. But I get that's part of it. Of it. I mean, we probably know everything about you. But tell me, is there something we haven't talked about, something about you personally that people would be very interested to know about and would want to know more about?
I don't know. We could talk about the events that I help run. That would be something.
Sure. Well, that was going to be my next thing.
You can combine them then. There's your answer. I help run a couple events that are in our area, and one of them being the Catalina. Hey, you got a beer too. Cheers. Trying to hide that from me. Catalina Fun Run. So back in 2016, or maybe it was 15, Ray Lee partnered up with Lavycraft, and they revived a fun run that they used to do a long time ago from Long Beach to Catalina for the day. Okay. And, I had heard about it through a friend or whatever, and I tagged along with the cameras, and we had a great day. It was super fun. Very small. I think there was like 10 boats. And the next year, Chris Kammeyer with Lavycraft at the time, the owner, he's like, I'm too busy. I don't want to do it again. And so it was just going to die. And so my buddy Corey Vodvarka, he has a really nice 30-foot Eliminator Eagle. He approached us, like, Darren and I, and he goes, hey, was there any reason why we can't do this? Do you think we could just do it and call it the Catalina Fun Run? And we're like, I don't see why not. And so nobody else was going to do it. And so we let everybody know that had done it last year that we were going to go ahead and take it over and try to make it happen again. And so I think that year we had like 13 boats, and that was 2016. And this is just over and back in the same day? Over and back in the same day.
Gotcha, okay.
And So it was fun. Again, we had a great day. Everybody really loved it and telling their friends. We're posting a lot of amazing pictures. So 2017 comes around. Everybody's like, well, is it going to happen again? And we're like, well, we'll do it again. And so we all three got together and organized it. And it's a lot of work to throw even just a fun run, even though it's not a poker run, you know. The organizational factor of getting people at the right place, the right time, telling them the itinerary, what we're going to do. But then we had a buddy named Sean who was a pilot for a helicopter, and he goes, hey, I'm going to take the helicopter out. I'll fly you out there. And so I jumped in the helicopter, and that was the first year we shot photos and video. I think it was just photos. We shot photos of our fun run, and that's when it took off. Like when those photos started hitting the internet and social media, you know, Catalina, you know, is like our own little Riviera off of the California coast. And it's just so beautiful out there and so relaxing and fun. And the ride out is fun, but yet short enough to like really enjoy it. And once those pictures started hitting the social media, we started really getting a lot of interest. And then, so Corey, he kind of spearheaded it and said, okay, well, we're on to something here. Because everybody was so complimentary all the time. Like, oh my God, I got to go next year, you know. And that was so fun. So Corey went out and he bought the domains and he created the social media pages, and he kind of took it in as his baby and really started trying to grow it from there. And we're all still, you know, pitching in and putting in more and more work every year, it seems like. But it's grown every year. Every year we add a new component. We started selling T-shirts to pay for a real helicopter that wasn't just our buddy at the bro deal. And then that turned into selling ad spots, you know, to some of our friends with small companies that weren't recognizable. And now fast forward to like last year, this is last year's event T-shirt, and we've got brands like DCB and MTI boats on our T-shirt, you know, and it's amazing. It feels amazing to have accomplished that kind of confidence in the event, but it also comes from people like Tony and Jeff and friends. You know, even Taylor Sism came over, I think not last year, but the year before.
Oh, cool.
He ran our run. And, you know, that's how, you know, we start getting names like that. They start experiencing how fun it is. So last year we added a second night. Some point a few years ago, we went from a 1 day there and back format to an overnight format. And so we'd run out, go to Descanso, party all night, wake up hungover as hell, eat breakfast, and come back, and we'd dock in front of Woody's for the rest of the day, drinking away our hangovers, you know. And it was a lot of fun. So last year we added a second night, and we did a second day run from Avalon to Two Harbors, which is about an 18-mile run up the island. And we rented the whole entire beach thanks to companies like DCB and MTI and, you know, Smudge Pot and all these guys here that I'm, you know, don't have time or the memory to mention. And, you know, they helped fund these with sponsorship payments. So we were able to add not only a second night to the event, but an amazing beach party exclusive with palapas and all the lounge chairs. And it was super plush, and like that put us over the top. So now this year's even, like, every year gets harder and harder.
Yeah.
Right?
So tell me about 2023. What's this one look like?
So, you know, sadly, there's a sad part and then the happy ending. We at some point didn't realize that, hey, maybe we should book Two Harbors again now, like for next year.
Oh.
Well, we missed out. Somehow somebody booked the whole beach, what we did, for the same weekend that we wanted.
Now let me just I've camped at Two Harbors. So Two Harbors is Catalina Island in Avalon is really cool. Lots of bars, restaurants, really cool. Blah, blah. Yeah. Two Harbors is really primitive, isn't it? Just still like that one little outside cafe.
Yeah, so it's that cafe and a couple different bars, and then they have all the big new palapas, which are like seat 8 people with the luxury couches, and it's really nice.
Oh, okay. They didn't have that when I was over there.
Okay, yeah, they've really upgraded it. And then they have like 36 lounge chairs out on the sand. So we rented that entire beach section with the palapas. It looked like a Ibiza resort, you know, party last year. And we had a DJ come out, and it was super fun. But we missed that. We screwed up. I guess we'll just say that. We screwed up. And it was just, you know, we didn't get on it in time. But what we've done is we've kept the second night format. And this year we're going to just do the run out on Friday. We're going to have the helicopter. And Saturday is going to be a free day, an island day, a boat day. Go boating. If you want to go boating, run around the island. Or if you want to go to two harbors and go have a drink, do it. But we're also going to we've also created a scavenger hunt that we're going to do with some really nice prizes. So, if you've been to Catalina and they got the golf carts and the bicycles and everything, that'll be a fun way to kind of cruise around the island and look for some really cool, fairly expensive gifts.
Oh, very cool. Very cool.
Yeah. So we're thinking of some creative ways to maybe work with some shops on the island and get them involved, make it a marketing event for them too. And we're going to have entertainment, another DJ at Descanso. So there's a lot that's going to happen. And it's going to be fun. I think people will actually appreciate the down day, just an island relaxation day, because there's beautiful beaches there. The unbelievable beaches that look like you're swimming in an aquarium. So I think it'll still be a great time.
And what's the date this year?
This year's we're running out to the island on the 22nd, and then we're staying till that Sunday, the 24th
of September.
Sorry. Yeah. September 22nd.
Gotcha. And when's registration? I mean, do you have a fill up point as far as numbers, or
we don't
when's
close
the deadline?
Registration. Yeah, we don't close registration too early like a lot of poker runs do, because we're just a fun run. But we do stop offering the T-shirt at a certain point as part of your registration, because we have to have a quantity that we know we can print.
Sure.
We usually try to print enough to have a few on the island for sale, but we don't want to get stuck with thousands of dollars of extra T-shirts. We made that mistake in our first year. So
how many? If you had to guess, how many boats do you think you'll have this year?
So last year, I believe we ended up with 62.
Oh wow, nice.
Yeah, and there's always an attrition rate, right? Like a couple boats will break down, or something will happen, a family emergency or travel emergency, and so I think we ended up with like 56 that made the run over. And they're everything from, 20-foot Yamaha jet runabouts to $1 million skaters, 42 skaters, or like DCB's M37R that really, really handled well in the ocean conditions. Lots of good boats, every brand, old, new, and that's what makes us proud. Is Corey's really he's the driving force behind working with the brands. He's a salesman by trade. He's an engineer. He's very detail oriented, as where I'm the creative. We need the Coreys and the Ericks in the program. We have our buddy Gerard that does a lot of work behind the scenes, and Darren pitches in. He's got a full-time job, so it's hard for him to put as much time as we do into it. But it's a village, takes a village, and we make it happen every year, and we're always glad we did it. And then we're always like, should we do it next year? That's a lot of work, but it's always so rewarding. And now that it's gotten to the size it has, we feel kind of committed to sticking to it, because we actually had people from Florida come out last year just for our run. It's amazing. So that's a compliment,
Yeah, that's very cool. Very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know. I can't remember. You must have posted something on social media. Is when I saw. I think that's when I reached out to you. I'm like, oh, wait a minute, you're involved with this. So that's cool. Let's talk about it. So.
Yeah, thanks. I appreciate it. And then the other logo on here is the Ocean Cup. So I met Janet Wilson and Nigel Hook, Lucas Oil offshore team. I met them in 2011, I believe, in Key West. We've stayed friends, over the years, but she was seeing me post stuff about the Catalina Fun Run. Well, at that time, they were trying to figure out how to make this Ocean Cup idea kind of a bigger thing. Mm-hmm. They had done the Cuba race and I think the San Francisco to Long Beach race, and she was seeing me posting stuff about this, and knowing I'm a photographer, and she called me up one day and said, "Hey, we have this Ocean Cup series that we're trying to make, and would you be interested in helping us produce a race in Huntington or in Long Beach?" And I'm like, well, absolutely, so it's right in my backyard. And I love offshore boat racing, and definitely wanted to be a part of it. So she actually flew me out to Fort Myers for the offshore race, like a few weeks later, to have a meeting with Nigel and Roger Bell, former driver of the Aquamania boat, and Michael Clark, both of those which are former managers of the great race in Trinidad Tobago. They actually are the producers of that race. And so they were going to have them involved, and she brought me out to kind of be the boots on the ground for the Southern California race and give my input. And so we met all together in the trailer and talked about what the potential is and what kind of race format. It's going to be long distance. It's getting back to the true offshore, not just circles in a closed course. And everybody was kind of on board. But the one thing I pointed out was, like, nobody knows what Ocean Cup is. Like, you're talking about the Cuba race, you're talking about the San Francisco race, but there's no branding behind it. And I realized that they had this sticker on the boat, Ocean Cup. I'm like, what's this Ocean Cup? And she goes, well, that's the name of the program, the series, or the host, or what do you call it? The sanctioning body. That's the sanctioning body. It's them. They own it. And I'm like, well, nobody's ever heard of that. That's what we need to focus on. We create this umbrella brand, because being in marketing for a living, right? That's what I kind of, my first take on it was like, we got to create a brand around Ocean Cup. So we all went home with our marching orders, and mine was to create that brand. So this logo came out of that meeting, and we started promoting it as an event series, much like P1 Offshore or OPA. You don't, you talk about the Fort Myers race or the Clearwater race, and you kind of know which sanctioning body's doing what. Key West with RWO, for the World Finals. But nobody knew what Ocean Cup was. So that was my input. Like, let's brand Ocean Cup. And so that's how I became involved with it. And we've successfully grown it every year since that year in 2019. 2020 was our first official race, COVID. And we had a lot of issues with that. We only had 2 boats running. And oh my God, I feel like I need to say this, though. And this is like out of the blue. Chris Rendell with Rendell Power Boats. Everybody refers to him as the Bat Boat. I'm really I woke up today in complete shock. But he passed away yesterday. And
you're kidding me.
No, and it's heartbreaking. He was a super guy. And in fact, I was waiting on a call back from him. We just talked 2 weeks ago about he wanted me to come out and help him film a project he's working on in Michigan City in 3 weeks. And I've been waiting on a call from him to find out if I was going or not. And I was going to literally call him today to check in, because I need to get my schedule going. And I opened Facebook, and it's R.I.P. Chris Rendell. And my heart just like sank. I didn't even think it was true. And so anyways, I just got to give a shout out to him. He was a great guy, full of energy, super funny. We had many great times together and at these races, and it's tragic. And his wife, Kimmy, I just feel terrible for her. I talked to her this morning, and it's sudden, unexpected, and super, super sad. So
bummer.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for sharing that.
Not to bring the show down, but I feel compelled to give him the credit where it's due, because he was our first competitor that wasn't actually Nigel and Janet, who own the Ocean Cup event. Yeah, they run their own boat for the same records, but Chris was the first one. And we'll always appreciate him for that. And it's a loss to the community in general.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, that's kind of the leap of faith of him to. That's no cheap date to go do that. To have faith in you guys and that serious to do that.
And he was so overly passionate about boat racing. I've never seen anybody like that before. It's like he eat, slept, and breathed it.
Yeah.
And he wasn't even like a Class 1 team like Nigel. It was just in his DNA. He had to be racing at all times. Yeah. So, anyways.
Well, I think that guy is probably most of our industry, if you really look at it, or at least a lot of it. At least, if nothing else, the guys, the early guys, the guys that got everybody, the first generation guys.
Yeah. And it's always something I admire about those people that, probably for the same passion I have for chasing boats and shooting them, is I see that in those guys, and they have much bigger budgets than I'm worried about, trying to afford the cameras and the travel. They're building $1 million, $100,000, $500,000 boats to race and go beat the hell out of, and then go back to the garage and put more money into them.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, and if you've been around racing a little bit, but I mean, I don't think the average guy if you've never done it, like all I think about, I see it differently. I did a little bit where, man, that's so much work.
Yeah.
You know, you'll spend a day doing kind of nothing sometimes, right? Just trying to,
or figuring out the gremlins that you can't get the boat running right. And they're, you know, some of these places, these locations in hot Florida and North Carolina, South Carolina, whatever it is, or, you know, even New York, hot, humid, muggy, Lake of the Ozarks, or Texas, like the Texas Outlaw Challenge. I mean, that's a poker run, but you know, they're working on these boats in extreme heat and humidity, and you can't not love the sport and keep doing that. I mean, you gotta, you've got to be addicted to be able to spend that kind of time and energy in that kind of conditions a lot of times.
Yeah, absolutely.
And even inside the boats, they're in their fire suits, helmets, jackets, you know, the Hans devices, you name it. They're wrapped up, and it is not. They're sitting in direct sun or in a cockpit. I mean, I got to give it to them.
Yep. Nope. Absolutely. Yeah. So, well, thanks, man. I don't know if there's anything we missed, but
yeah, I don't know. I feel like I talked a lot. Sorry.
That was good. You know what? That's, you know, I tell everybody I do this selfishly. This is about me getting to know people that I'm interested in and learning more about something I've loved forever.
That's
as
cool.
Stupid as it probably
that's
sounds.
That's why I want to interview you. Like, you know, this is a cool thing that you're doing, and you know, I've been listening to your podcast.
Cool.
I enjoy them. I run the stairs or do my workouts listening to them and learning about new people. So I was really honored that I got a call to be on your show. You know, I know it might not be the Joe Rogan show or anything, but it's still it's a little niche industry, and I appreciate the interest.
No. Yeah, that's why, and I get a lot of good feedback, and I'm going to just keep trying to get better at to where I can get them out faster and do more of them. But no, there's a lot of people we still got to talk to. There's a lot of people.
Yeah. Oh yeah, there's a lot of people. There's a lot of interesting people, a lot of big characters. So I can't wait to keep watching and see who you have next.
Thank you. And then I think you said already, your YouTube's Fast and Loud Photography.
Just Fast Loud Photography.
Fast Loud. Okay.
I don't want to say Fast and Loud because I don't want Richard Rawlings suing me for any kind of copyright infringement. He's the Gas Monkey Garage guy. So
yeah, and he will.
Yeah. You know him?
I have met him before. Yes, I don't know him that well, but I have met him before, and I know a lot of.
Yeah, to be honest with you.
Yeah. Well, he probably already talked to his attorneys and realized it was going to cost him money so that probably stopped him.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
But okay, so Fast Loud, and Instagram's Fast Loud.
Yeah, everything on all social media. Fast Loud Photography Fast Loud Photography.
All right. So if you don't follow him, he's got just some amazing stuff. So.
Yeah.
But Eric,
and then fastloudphotography.com too. That's where all the galleries are from the events. So.
Perfect. There you go.
Yeah.
So, and the Fun Run. What's the website for the Fun Run? Or can they find it?
CatalinaFunRun.com. Yep.
Okay. Cool.
CatalinaFunRun.com. It's live with all the latest information, the dates, the itinerary is getting put together now. We're taking sponsorships. We're selling T-shirts, and it's countdown time. Yeah. Awesome. Excited.
Well, good luck with that. We'll keep our eyes on it, and I'm sure it's going to be a great time. So, hey, but thanks again for taking the time and for sharing.
So much.
No problem, man.
And cheers.
Yeah, absolutely.
Give me a cheers. There we go. Yeah. Right on. Oh, yeah, I guess I better take a sip.
There. All right, man.
Well, hey, I appreciate you having me, and good luck with the rest of your shows.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. We'll talk to you soon.
Yeah. Take care.
Okay.
Thank you for listening to Powerboat Talk. If you like what you've heard, please head over to Apple Podcasts and give us a 5-star review. For more Powerboat Talk, follow us on Facebook or Instagram, or visit our website at powerboattalk.com.